I want you to front for me, get their confidence, and then introduce them to your new friend, Freddie.
Well, Charlie, I think I can handle it. It seems simple enough. Where's it taped?
Oh, it's taped live from New York. It's Saturday night.
Hello and welcome to the Not Ready for Primetime Project. We're Gary Seath and Brad Robinson.
And you're not.
This week, we're talking the early years of SNL. Season 4, Episode 13, with host Kate Jackson and musical guest Delbert McClinton. This show originally aired on February 24th, 1979. Brad, we have one of Charlie's Angels hosting.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Must be sweeps month.
Yes.
And or old Fred Silverman had to call in a favor. One of the two. I don't know. Or both. Maybe both.
Oh, that's a good point. Or maybe he was doing a favor for someone.
Maybe.
Kate Jackson, Charlie's Angels is
Keith
huge.
Jackson?
Yeah.
Just the 1980s Eagles.
No. Oh, I was thinking Keith Jackson, the broadcaster. ABC.
Yeah.
Kate Jackson.
Yes, Kate Jackson.
She's
Wow. Okay.
Very different than either one of the Keith Jacksons.
Yes.
She's on a huge show at the time, hit show,
Yes.
Charlie's Angels.
End up being her last season of Charlie's Angels this season.
Yeah, I was about to say that. But she's a big
It's the
deal.
only thing I looked up.
No.
She is a big deal. The show's a big deal. That's all I got. Sorry.
Yeah. No, the show is a big deal.
So a big get for the show.
Well, it's a big get in terms of current stars, right? I mean, usually our big gets are older stars that the crew is fans of, but this is a contemporary big get.
Yes, contemporary big get. I think the ratings proved it. I read in Daniel's book, he talks about when this show came on, when it opened, it was the highest ratings of the season, like 28 million homes. So it's February sweeps and they're swinging big, like you said, contemporary stars, hot stars.
And Delbert McClinton.
Yes, he's also here too.
He is. Not exactly the musical get.
No, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, not the biggest musical get in the world. You know, we had Talking Heads was exciting, and who did we have before that?
Doobie Brothers. Yeah. Peter Tosh.
Delbert McClinton. Anyway,
fresh off the heels of Judy Collins, Delbert McClinton.
That's fair. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Anyway, this episode is interesting.
I think it's fun.
The audience was really into this show.
Oh my God, was the audience into it? Yes. Almost every sketch I have that same note, except for one, sadly. A lot of unearned applause in this episode.
And a lot of reactions for people, not necessarily their first time on screen, but just kind of showing up and they'd get a huge reaction.
No. It's like an episode of Seinfeld. Door opens, applause, applause, applause. Wait for applause. Deliver line.
Yeah, that's how this episode felt. But I also felt that by the end of the sketches, often the crowd was taken out of it in some instances.
Yeah, it's odd. But I think overall, I was surprised. I surprisingly enjoyed the hour of watching it.
Good. Well, should we just get into it then?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
All right. The cold open starts with Kate Jackson, which not used to having the host in the cold open, but here we are.
No, good point.
She's joined by Jane Curtin playing Cheryl Ladd and Gilda Radner playing Jacqueline Smith. They're the Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels.
Right into it. And Jane's first appearance gets a huge reaction from the crowd. They're speaking to Charlie on the phone, played by Bill, and they're in Fred Silverman's office.
Again with Fred Silverman.
Yeah, they really go at him hard.
They did. Yeah.
And the whole thing is, Charlie's mission is for them to work with Fred, who it turns out is not doing a poor job for NBC. He's just on a covert operation for ABC, and that's why the programming sucks.
Double agent.
The whole premise then is that Kate Jackson is going to go undercover at Saturday Night Live
and try to pilfer the cast, because everyone had their task, right? Cheryl Ladd was going to go on NBC in the Today Show and sing. Gilda, as Jacqueline Smith, was supposed to go on the Network Battle of Stars and shoot Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
They make a McLean Stevenson joke, which was funny. He's next in line. It's okay, we have McLean Stevenson.
Right.
after they yet again bash Hello Larry. I finally had to look it up because
Yeah.
they keep making these Hello Larry jokes. And I'm like, what the hell? Because granted, I did not know Hello Larry. And apparently it was an NBC sitcom starring McLean Stevenson. It was his third attempt post-MASH at a TV show. So he's already been 0 for 3.
So this is already his third attempt?
This is his third attempt at a post-MASH life. It had just premiered in January and it would actually run for 2 seasons. It just comments on how bad NBC's programming was at this time, that this horrific show, he was supposed to be a disc jockey, and it was like a late night show, like 9:30 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And after only 5 episodes, they completely revamp the show and make it more like a family show with him and his daughters and move it to 8:30 after different strokes. So they're already like changing things up 5-6 episodes in. They apparently tried to tie it together with different strokes. Like McLean and Drummond were like old army buddies and they did like crossover episodes.
All right. Sure.
TV Guide a while back did a list of 50 worst shows of all time. And apparently they put Hello Larry at number 12.
Wow. You don't know what the top one was, do you?
I do not. Honestly, I do about half the research. But yeah.
Honestly, you did far more research than I would have expected on Hello Larry. So
I did far more research on McLean Stevenson than I did on Kate Jackson, and she was the host. So there you go. It's a fun setup. This, Fred Silverman, double agent. They set this up. We'll learn as a runner throughout the show, which is both good and bad, unfortunately for John. But it's kind of like that idea they had with the Frank Zappa episode. Fred Silverman, cold open.
Right.
NBC's going all in on Zappa. It's open up with Fred Silverman again.
I don't know. John's voice sounded really hoarse too in this. Like he didn't sound with it.
And I had the note too. John's not looking great. And so this is the episode. The story has been told time and time again. This is the episode that Belushi was out partying all week with Keith Richards. And the story goes he had partied 3 days straight and rolled in on Saturday and couldn't remember his lines. And Al Franken, who wrote this, I think with Downey, the Silverman runner piece. But John tried to claim he was too sick to go on. And then it's the infamous story of Lorne brings in a doctor and he checks him out and he says, John's lungs are filling with fluid. And if he goes on, he could die. And Lorne's like, what's the chances? And he says 50-50. And Lorne responds, I'll take those odds. So that is this episode that is like gone down in lore of like John being completely messed up.
Yeah. And it's pretty apparent, I think, right away when you see him in the cold open.
Yeah, he's definitely off. And there was, I can't remember who was it attributed to, but there was a writer who said this was the one time that they could remember where John was really messed up for air.
Yeah. Well, he does get the live from New York. That doesn't really work, I didn't think.
I mean, it's funny. We've been seeing John like so much because we're watching them week in and week out with such frequency.
Yeah.
But apparently, aside from the inner circle, like it wasn't apparent. Kate Jackson has said Bob Woodward reached out to her when he was writing Wired because, he's heard these tales of this is John's like worst episode as far as drug abuse and stuff go. And she told him like, I saw nothing. Like I didn't notice anything. I didn't see anything. And so she actually never even talked to him because she couldn't tell. But I agree with you in watching it and watching so much John, in a row, definitely seems off.
Well, from there, we get the monologue where Kate Jackson goes on to tell us how she used to give tours at NBC at Rockefeller Center. And sure enough, here comes the tour, guided by Tom Schiller. We see Jim Downey, Ann Beats, Brian Doyle Murray, Nils Nichols, Rosie Schuster, Walter Williams. They're all just there taking the tour.
Everybody's in there. Yeah.
Brian Doyle Murray asks her a question
about how they heat the place, how they heat the building or how they heat the studio. Yeah.
I was surprised actually how fast the monologue was. It was quick.
It was quick, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And I like how they called back to her history of the building or, career.
Yeah, that was fun.
And it's not demanding of her.
Nope.
It's either a good sign or a bad sign. It's good in that, they know not to push her and they know the limitations, what they can do with her, or it's bad at that she just can't handle anything. And they're like, let's get out of here. So I was kind of wondering which way it was going to go after seeing it, because it is noticeably quick. And I do think for the good. I think it was, in watching the whole episode, I think it was a good sign of thing to come.
I agree. Well, from there, we get Gilda on the couch And it's a nerd sketch. And yep, this is what we were talking about again. The crowd goes wild.
Huge applause to start things off. It's kind of like par for the course these days. We've gotten to that part of the journey of the show where now, yes, the recurring characters just get standing ovations. Like, it reminded me of Coneheads when they came back either earlier this season or last season, where Beldar walks in, it's like applause, and then start the scene. Yeah.
So the premise of this nerd sketch is that Mrs. Loopner has a cast on her arm, and Lisa is upset because Todd has fallen in love with her nurse. Of course, played by Kate Jackson.
Of course.
And it turns out that she's engaged. That was the sketch. It was okay though. I think, when Lisa's talking to her mom, it shows this different side of their relationship.
Yes, I agree. Same note. I said the bit with mom and daughter was nice. We haven't seen that dynamic yet. Kind of a softer, kind of, one-on-one thing. I really like that a lot.
Oh, Lisa, you're imagining things.
No, Mom. Todd hasn't given me noogies for 2 weeks. Not since that Michelle showed up. I keep waiting for the noogie patrol and it never comes.
Oh, there, dear.
And what's worse, his skin cleared up. How can I compete with a nurse? I mean, she's got those cool, firm mountains of vanilla ice cream, and all I got are these 2 miserable maraschino cherries.
But then Todd walks in, and again, huge applause for Bill's entrance.
He's all sunburned because he's been sitting under a tanning bed to get a tan for the nurse. Bill's voice also seemed kind of messed up in this sketch to me, like hoarse and I don't know.
Speaking of voices, what I didn't understand was the choice for Kate Jackson to have an accent.
Right.
She leans into a Southern accent for some reason.
Why not?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's funny because I totally just chalked that up to she wanted to do something.
Right.
I don't know.
And here's a chance to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not laugh out loud as some of the other nerd sketches, but I like it. It's a nice scene for what you said about you don't see this dynamic. And actually, we should say too, so Todd tries putting the moves on Michelle. He sings Michelle. Was it My Michelle?
Yeah.
That
song Beatles song, Michelle. Yeah.
The Beatles song. And she sits down and she breaks it to him that, she has a fiance. And then she leaves to go take the cast off Mrs. Loopner. And then the Todd and Lisa interchanges. Again, it's not really laugh out loud funny, but it's just sweet.
Yeah.
She's playing the piano and Heart and Soul. And he comes over and starts using his, bounces on it with his ass to play the second part. But, and he realizes she wanted the noogies and he's like, forgive and forget noogies. And there was just something nice. You haven't seen this dynamic between Lisa and mom and Lisa and Todd that I actually very much liked.
Yeah, it ended up being a fun sketch because you got to see those dynamics, not necessarily funny.
Yeah, which I feel like a lot of this episode is like that. It's not funny, but it's fun.
That is true.
I don't mean in a bad way.
No. Well, after this, we get another programming sketch was my first note. Like, what are we doing? And then I realized, this is the runner. Okay, we haven't seen a runner in a while.
It's been a minute. That's true.
We see Fred explaining the schedule to Bill. I believe his character's name is Paul something. Mm-hmm. And then Tom Snyder pays a visit. And when the receptionist says Tom Snyder's here, the crowd goes nuts before he even walks in the room.
Yes, they go nuts for the mention of Tom Snyder. Just the mention.
So crazy.
Yeah.
I was just so surprised that just the mention of Tom Snyder got a big reaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then Dan comes in and does his very quick Tom Snyder bit. He doesn't spend a lot of time in there. No,
he comes in to complain or ask why he's getting moved to a different time slot. And then Fred explains prime time. And then, right. Tom Snyder does a complete 180 and is like, oh, well, thank you very much. If I had a hat, I'd tip it to you. Ha, 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 ha. Walks right out the door.
Yeah. And then Fred throws to the next sketch. He says, I got to see what's going on with Kate Jackson at Saturday
Well, before
night.
then, Gary, if I may, he takes a phone call. And they take another shot at Fred Silverman with Supertrain. And he's talking about selling things and how much money they can recoup for Supertrain. which is another failed NBC show. Of course, I had to do the research. Lasted one season, only 9 episodes, premiered again just a few weeks prior to this. And it's the quick summary I found was a nuclear-powered high-speed train equipped with the amenities much like a cruise ship. So it was like Love Boat on a train.
Sure.
All I can think of, do you ever remember this movie, The Big Bus? Did you ever see this?
No, I don't remember this.
You've never seen The Big Bus? Oh, you got to go see it. It's amazing. It's the same thing. It's like a spoof of airplane disaster movies, but instead of on an airplane, it's on a huge bus. And the bus is like ridiculously large. It's like a triple stacked thing. And there's a piano bar and a pool and all this shit in it. But anyway, this show was a pair. Yeah. I can't believe you haven't seen The Big Bus, man. You have to go check it out. But so this was like a Love Boat on a train where like every episode is about different passengers and their interactions and
sure.
Shit. Yeah. But apparently that same, the TV Guide ranking I mentioned before, Super Train, number 28.
Well, at least it's better than Hello, Larry.
Well, some guest stars of Super Train. This is how far I went. Dick Van Dyke, Fred Williamson, Don Meredith, George Hamilton, Joyce DeWitt, Rue McClanahan, Isabel Sanford, and Tony Danza.
Angela. This segment of the show has been sponsored by Ian Talks Comedy with host Ian Fermaglich.
I got to step up my game. Yeah. Ian's just...
Then he throws it to the next sketch, which is on the monitor in Fred Silverman's office. And we see Bill, Kate, and Gilda in a waiting room. Gilda is playing Colleen, who we've seen.
How'd you feel about that?
Well, my immediate reaction was, oh, Colleen.
Yeah. You don't like Colleen.
I don't. And even after talking to Rosie about it, I thought I might like Colleen more. And I like her maybe a little bit more. But what I really liked about Colleen this time was that she was dressed half like her mother, half like her father. And that
she's wearing Bill's shirt and mom's skirt. Yeah.
Yeah. And sweater. So they are seen into the child psychologist, Dr. Schiffman, Lorraine. We finally get Lorraine. So this is Lorraine's child character that she plays in a couple of sketches, right? Not a child psychologist, but
not child psychologist per se, but she's played a little girl before, you know.
Oh yeah.
Christopher Lee and kind of like Shirley Temple a little bit. So she definitely has this little girl character down. Yeah.
I understand your reaction, Mark. I get it a lot. But after all, who's better qualified to know the mind of a child than another child? And if it's credentials you're looking for, let me assure you that I'm fully qualified.
Dr. Schiffman has an honorary PhD from Johns Hopkins. We're very lucky to get him.
Thank you for your vote of confidence, Meg. You know, Mark, it's unfortunate you're not familiar with my 2 books. I'm 5, you're 5. And now we were all 6.
Oh, great. The baby wrote a book.
I'm not a baby.
I know how Colleen feels, Mark, and I cannot help but agree with her this time. Now, we are here, we are paying for the session anyway, and we are going to listen to what Dr. Schiffman has to say.
Now, to me, it's obvious that your Colleen is autistic.
Well, so what? Einstein didn't even speak until he was 3 years old.
Face it, both of you. She's vegged out. I mean, frankly, I've seen acorn squash with more personality.
This sketch was written by Rosie, right? She mentioned it in our interview with her.
She definitely has a hand in it, yeah, with Colleen, yeah.
This is the one she mentions where Colleen was told to get dolls for a mother and a father, and then for Colleen, and she brings a roll of Scotch tape for herself. Yeah, that's this sketch.
Yeah, but when you say it out of context, because it kind of works, because then that propels Bill to realize, what does he say? Oh, she thinks we see her as just a common object to fight over. And it helps tie the scene together of him and Kate reconciling their differences and trying to kiss each other, and Gilda's face. He's putting her face in between the two of them.
Yeah.
I think the performances are all really good in this.
I agree.
Lorraine is great. I think Bill and Kate are really good as the parents, kind of having these issues and trying to work their shit out. Like, they're actually very good, the two of them.
This is the sketch where I thought, oh, Kate's pretty good. She's
yeah.
This
is probably her best acting tonight.
Yeah.
She also plays herself a lot because there's the runner, so she's unfortunately playing Kate Jackson a lot.
That's true.
It kind of feels a little bit like low-hanging fruit, you know, with the Colleen and the therapist and then or psychologist, and then, you know, she's a kid and then she realizes, she being Lorraine as the psychologist, realizes what the problems are, but then she has to go to the bathroom, so she wants to leave and go potty, and they're like, no, hold it, you can hold it, let's work through it.
Right.
But as low, again, as the fruit might be, whatever, I don't know, the performances are all just so good. I think the writing's really funny too. Like, again, the idea when you just say it about Colleen goes and gets a roll of tape, I think it's a little too easy to write off her being that character, the autistic character or whatnot. But then it has a purpose for the other characters in the sketch that works well. I don't know. I get why people don't like this or don't like her character. But you know what I realized watching it here? I don't know why I didn't before. It's not that much different from the Mike Myers character, Simon, when he plays the kid.
Yeah.
You're looking at my bum. I mean,
No,
I feel like
familiar with
it's
Simon.
very similar. And that was huge.
I don't know.
Really? You don't think so?
No, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can see that in some ways.
Him
but-
as a kid who's like, I'm a hypo.
Right.
Was it the Nicole Kidman one? He's got a harness. He's like tied to the monkey bars and stuff. I don't know.
Right. The Colleen character's just, I feel like it's so blatantly over the top. And I know Simon is too, but it's just something about it. Like the Simon character, there's more heart to it, I think. There's more like,
what?
Yeah. He's more genuine. I don't know. This one I just feel like is
she's so good at it though. She's so good, Gilda.
What is she good at? What is it that she's good at with this
She's
character?
doing like the physical gag and the jokes of like not speaking but still like reacting without saying anything. I don't know. I think she's very good at this. I think it's funny.
It's funny because Rosie mentions that she doesn't like punching down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about this character. Like this feels like it's punching down to this Colleen character. That's just how it comes across to me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I know
Or
what you're
trying to say?
saying. For this particular sketch, I feel like it really doesn't. But
All right.
the child psychologist and like her and Lorraine back and forth, I think it works really well. Lorraine's also, again, really, really good in this sketch.
Lorraine is very good in this. And just the way she, like when she has to go to the bathroom and she starts twisting and like can't get settled like a little kid. Yeah.
Yeah, twisting her legs across and grabbing herself to try to hold it. And yeah,
It's so good.
it's good.
And you just realize how lanky Lorraine is. And she just kind of like
Yeah.
the way she
Well,
twists
yeah.
her body.
Because I actually don't love Lorraine as a small child that often. But I thought she was really good here.
Yeah, I think this one, she's really good. Well, Brad, after that, we get your friend and mine, Delbert McClinton.
Woo!
So we've seen B-movie Boxcar Blues on SNL before, right?
This season, sir. Yes.
Yeah. That's
My
what I
first
thought.
note was bold, given that the Blues Brothers did this same exact song earlier this season.
That was
Very bold choice, sir. I mean, this has to be the first, maybe not only time, but at least first time that an act has come on and done the same exact song that a previous artist has done. Not including Paul Simon doing
Okay.
Still Crazy All This Years 14 times over the course of the show. Aside from that,
14 times in the first 4 seasons, I think you mean.
see, that's why people think I hate Paul Simon. I make comments like that.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like literally played the same exact song, not like as an homage or in memory
Right.
of
Right.
the
right,
same
right.
song we heard earlier this season.
How do you feel about this version?
I'm not going to lie. Prefer the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
Really?
Yeah.
Much of the same band. So,
Well, the horns are back. Yeah. Lou and Tom Malone
Yeah.
and Alan Rubin are playing.
but I thought the band was tight. Like, I think Delbert McClinton has a good band. I thought his harmonica playing was excellent.
Yeah. I mean, this is another instance. Doug Hill and Weingrad write about it, where it was like John holding the show hostage and basically demanded that Delbert McClinton be the musical host or he's going to quit again. And they write about it because since it was, as we mentioned, sweeps, like Lauren really wanted a big name to go along with
Yeah.
the Kate Jackson to get you a really big name in sweeps. And that's why we have Delbert McClinton. I mean, remember we talked to Paul Schaefer and Paul Schaefer was like, yeah, John started hanging around Delbert McClinton.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're covering B-movie Boxcar Blues on the album. It's like, okay, sounds about right.
And this really, I mean, we're getting close to the end of John's reign of terror on SNL.
Yeah. But I feel like I've said this at least 3 times this season. John threatened to quit if this didn't
Right.
happen. John threatened to quit if that didn't happen. And, you know, it's an interesting not retelling or reimagining of history as after John passes, and then Farley passes, and Lauren's take on how he approached people and their issues and their substance abuse issues. It's, at the time, he, from all purposes, really didn't give a shit, and, how true or not the 50-50, I'll take those odds story is. It's just, he was pissed at John, him and John are just battling all season. John has the Blues Brothers, and Lauren's trying to give him and Dan all the space he can to, do the movie and go film 1941 and get ready to go tour. And, John's just bigger than the show. He's holding it over everybody. And it's like, yeah, it's not surprising at the end of the season that he's gone.
No. And it's not surprising that Lauren's okay with John leaving, but is more upset by Dan leaving.
And the Dan is the one that hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it. The one Dan was kind of the surprise. It came later. I think Dan always thought he would be able to come back. And so it was the Dan that kind of shocked him. But yeah, so that's how we got Delbert McClinton with Kate Jackson.
After Delbert wraps up B-Movie Boxcar Blues, we get Weekend Update brought to you by Earthquaker Oats.
Yeah,
that kind of sets the tone for Weekend Update, I think. Jane and Bill go back and forth with jokes about Yasser Arafat, Ringo Starr, Pinto tractor.
Did you notice the clock behind Bill was misspelled? They have all the different cities, and behind him is Philadelphia, but it was, for some reason, it was missing the H at the end. So it was PIA.
No, I didn't notice that.
That's how engrossing Weekend Update was, is that I'm looking at the clocks behind Bill and Jane, and I'm like, why is that spelled wrong? Just to give you a taste of how it was going.
Yeah.
Speaking of applause.
Yeah. He just mentions Father Guido Sarducci, and again, the crowd goes nuts for him. And he goes on to talk about the weather in Italy and then UFOs. And then he wraps up with the weather saying it's either going to get warmer or colder. That what I thought was his funniest line.
It was a little long.
I don't think it was in real time.
No.
But I think it felt really long. Yeah.
I mean, it did.
It was not great. And then we get Rosanna talking about King Tut, which was still big in 1979. This is a typical Rosanna.
Yeah.
Jane gets pissed and yells at her.
Starts out with New Jersey jokes. Always sticks the landing on the Jersey jokes.
And they always hit. That crowd was really into that Jersey joke.
So you're going to make him go to Jersey? He doesn't have enough problems. You're going to send him to Jersey?
Again, not the best either Guido Sarducci or Rosanna.
No. The one thing I liked is she mentioned her aunt. I think it was her aunt at the end. Pollyanna, Rosanna Dana. And even that got an eye roll from Jane. She just looks and rolls her.
And that's it for Weekend Update. But we come back to Andy Kaufman, introduced by Kate Jackson.
Andy's back.
Yeah.
Where's he been? Taxi?
Taxi,
Taxi.
Yeah, he is doing Taxi at this time. And he comes on along with Bob Cranshaw, Howard Johnson, Mauricio Smith, all playing bongos and tambourine. And they're singing. He's singing a song. What's that?
Well, but it's actually almost reversed that because the guys are playing.
Right. They start
see them first.
Playing. Right.
Right. And they start singing. And then you hear Kate Jackson off screen introduces Andy Kaufman. Then he comes in, which was it's an interesting setup.
Yeah. And he sings a song about yodeling with the bongos. I thought that was pretty, like, the juxtaposition of bongos and yodeling amused me.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing in this bit, but I watched it. And but
that's good because that's what we do here.
That's what we do here. But what I guess is like you keep watching it, waiting for something to happen.
Yes.
And that's the whole gimmick, right?
Yes.
Nothing happens. Like he purposely doesn't deliver. And that's the joke.
Right.
It's like that buy the ticket, take the ride idea. Like, okay, you're going to watch Andy Kaufman. You're in it for whatever this is.
Sure.
Because I enjoyed it. Like it was fine to watch, but I noticed myself sitting there like waiting for something to go on, something to happen. And
right.
He just sings. And then
it's just a performance on the bongos, singing about yodeling. Yeah. And I thought he would go into like some weird yodel thing or something, but that didn't happen either.
Something, yeah.
He does then finish the song, gets the applause, and the camera follows him off stage. And we walk past Garrett talking to John again as Fred Silverman.
Garrett's in the show this week.
Who knew? And here Fred Silverman is pitching him on a show.
Super Limo.
Super
Again,
limo,
making
right?
fun of Super Train, Super Limo.
Exactly.
I don't know, Mr. Silverman. Super limo? You know, what's it about?
Well, we're pretty happy with it, Garrett. Super limo. It's a big limousine. So big that it takes up 2 sides of the highway.
Oh, well, I don't know, man. I don't
You're
know
the
about
driver. See, every week, you drive 3 celebrities around Hollywood, and they entertain you because they love you.
that. What kind of celebrity?
Who's ever hot? One week it might be Steve Lawrence, Don Meredith, Charles Nelson Riley. Another week it could be Ari Johnson, Ruth Buzzy, Joanne Worley. You know, a theme show.
Yeah, well, man, you know, I'll think it over, man. I'll think it over.
Really, Garrett, this is a hot idea.
Yeah.
I give you my word as a television executive.
Well, thank you, Mr. Silverman. Thank you. I've got to be going.
Okay, I'll call you Monday.
Yeah, I'll check you out, man.
He's like, you'd have different passengers and you interact with them and it'd be funny. And
Which kind of sounds better than Super Train, just pitching the premise.
going back to Super Train, it apparently was like the most expensive TV show ever made at the time.
Did they put those actors on an actual train?
I believe they bought like 3 different trains of different sizes and cars. It was like $10 million they spent on it. That almost apparently, Super Train almost bankrupted NBC from what I read. It was that bad. They spent that much money and 9 episodes gone.
Why would you buy real trains?
I don't know. Why are you doing anything? Why are you giving McLean Stevenson shot
They
number 3?
didn't buy an actual cruise ship to film The Love Boat.
Are you sure of that?
Yes. Because ABC, it didn't fold. Anyway,
Garrett.
So then Kate Jackson comes on.
Garrett wisely
Garrett
says
leaves.
no and is like, I got shit to do.
Right. And Kate comes in and she's telling Fred Silverman how much she likes the cast and she can't do it. And he slaps her.
Yeah. The whole Kate thing kind of went nowhere.
It got John to give a line about John.
Right. Oh, right. But then he talked something about prime time or going to prime time. And he's like, John starts going into a rant about, well, maybe we could do this and put our efforts here and think about, the artistry, yada, yada. And as he's doing this, I'm like, is he doing a Theodoric of York rant? Is he going? And then sure enough, at the end, he finishes, nah.
I know. I was expecting the nah as soon as he started going off.
As soon as he started doing it, I was like, is he really gonna? And he did.
He did. Not as well as Steve does it.
He's having a rough night. Give him a break. Cut him some slack.
You're always cutting him
He could have
slack.
died, Gary. He could have died. You don't care. You and Lauren, the two of you. You don't care about your artists and the work they go through to deliver for you week in and week out. The two of you.
Are you done with your rant?
Next, we have Bad Cabaret for Children.
That's right. Leonard Pinth Garnell is back.
Now, why didn't he get an ovation? That was my question. Every sketch, it's Dan. Obviously, we all love Dan. Why did Leonard Pinth Garnell not get applause?
Right. Because I honestly thought the crowd was kind of taken out of it at this point. I was like, all right, we've lost the crowd. Yeah,
No. I don't think it was that bad. I think it's a fun episode. Although maybe to your point, I guess a lot of the stuff's behind the scenes. Like with Kate, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole we just came from the Kate and John thing, which really, like to your point, went nowhere. Yeah, and I thought, maybe we're losing the crowd, and that's why we didn't get it. But we get a reaction later in the show, so they come back.
Yeah, I don't think they were losing them. But anyway, it was just weird that for all the start of a sketch applauses, that Dan didn't get one for this.
Well, he comes on to talk about Bad Cabaret for Children. I believe this was done in Germany. This one was a German cabaret.
Yes.
And then we see the cabaret, and it is legitimately an audience full of children on set.
Actual kids in the audience, yeah.
Yeah, which I was not expecting.
No, but it's
all.
It's fun. It helps. It helps sell the gag really well.
It does help. Yeah, I mean, this is another bad sketch. It was bad. He was right. It was fun.
Yeah.
For what it was, like, I think it was fun. I think adding the children in the audience really helped it along.
And I like how at the end, the performance ends and they pull back to Leonard Pinth Garnell and he introduces everyone. It's all like the German ballet or German whatever, blah, blah, blah. And on the board, our own Ronnie Bateman. It's like Bill Murray is Ronnie Bateman every single one of these things.
Yeah.
So that was funny. It's like, because you said it's in Germany, German performers, and Ronnie Bateman. But this is another example. I don't know how funny, quote unquote, or like laugh out loud funny the sketch is, but I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's, that's kind of the par for the course with the bad sketches oftentimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So I thought this worked as a bad because of what it is. Did you think that Delbert McClinton's next song worked? Talking about you?
Talking about you. I liked it better than B-Movie. I will say that.
I agree. I felt like this was, I don't know this song, but I enjoyed the performance.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about Delbert McClinton, and I still don't. Let me not misrepresent myself that I did a lot of research on Delbert McClinton.
End of story. Thank you. Our next sketch.
No, I thought he was more popular than it turns out he actually was. Like, I thought he had actual hits, but he did not.
Full disclosure, I only know him from the Blues Brothers. I only know him because every time they play B-Movie Boxcar Blues, they say it's a Delbert McClinton song, and that's how I knew of him. If not for that, I probably would have no idea who he was.
Yeah.
Would you say he is better or worse than James Taylor as being just a dude standing at the mic?
I think he's better than James Taylor. And I think part of that is because James Taylor it feels
he
naked.
Needs the guitar.
Yeah.
He needs the guitar. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it was a low bar, granted, but I do think he's better just standing there holding his microphone in one hand, singing away.
Yeah. It was more jarring not seeing James Taylor with the guitar.
That's what he said.
Well, it wasn't jarring seeing Mr. Bill. The audience was really into that.
Of course. But that's been for a while now.
Yeah. So this time, Mr. Bill shapes up. Turns out Mr. Bill is eating a ton of snacks. And Mr. Hand tells him he can't eat so many snacks because he's getting fat. Chubby
Mr. Bill was funny.
He was. Very
Chubby
funny.
Mr. Bill with a belly was very funny.
Yeah, it was. So he introduces him to Sluggo Lane.
Also funny.
Yeah.
Also funny.
They start going through different exercises with Mr. Bill, have him doing with the barbell. And he's like, no, I can't. And he just drops it on him.
Drops it.
The spring, he flies into the wall.
Ball.
Yeah, medicine ball.
Well, I don't know why. This is the first time. Like, why do they always got to pick on Spot? It's always, every time it's Spot first has to get crushed. This time it's by a medicine ball. It's like, why?
Well, because if you crush Mr. Bill, then it's over.
Oh, I see. It's called structure and build. I understand what you're saying. I get it now. Scratch that note.
This was a fun Mr. Bill. I feel like I've been kind of underwhelmed by recent Mr. Bills, but I really enjoyed this one.
Well, you know what's funnier than chubby Mr. Bill? Skinny Mr. Bill.
Yes.
After he goes in the sweat box and he honestly looks like me coming out of it, like weighing about all of a $105. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
He puts him in the shower and turns the shower on. But skinny.
I know.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff in this one. I agree. I like it.
Yeah. This was the strong Mr. Bill.
Yes.
And then the show closes. And I was very surprised by this.
I was too. Very bold.
It closes with the Coneheads at the movies. So it starts with John and Kate just in the audience in a movie theater with joints, of course, next to Alan Zweibel.
Yeah.
And then the Coneheads come in and sit in front of them. And the crowd.
That's kind of the sketch.
Though that's totally the sketch. Yeah.
Sadly.
I was going to say the crowd's biggest reaction really was to how Dan went to town on that joint.
Of course. Oh, and of course he did. This is a guy who takes like a pack of 10 cigarettes and smokes them at once. Yeah, no, he does. He goes to town on that joint, which is kind of the whole crux of the sketch of the joke, is then he leaves and he goes to the concession stand and he comes back in with literally armfuls of popcorn and soda. And Connie's worried that her dad's going to start freaking out, that he can't handle the drugs.
Until they're escorted out, along with a drunken Garrett Morris. They're all escorted out of the movie theater by Bill.
Right. It was short.
It was short.
I mean, that was, yeah.
Especially, I mean, I thought it was short, and I was surprised how short it was because you have to put the cones on and then take them off for
Yeah, we've never seen it this late in the show. But it was funny. I was thinking about it when that nerd sketch opened things and got the huge applause, and it reminded me of Coneheads. And I was like, we haven't seen Coneheads in ages.
Right.
And since it wasn't early in the episode, I assumed we weren't going to. So I was kind of surprised to see them this late. I forgot they were in this episode. And it's not the best return for them.
No.
They sit down there wearing hats. So one of the jokes is, okay, can you take your hats off?
Right.
They take off their winter hats to have the cones. The blocking was also really weird for this because
it was very
you
weird.
Mentioned it's in a movie theater. So they've got to like turn around and it's their backs are to camera to talk to John and Kate. So like that kind of felt really weird. They couldn't cover it well.
No, it was
back
strange.
And forth. And I thought they would have done a little bit more with the movie because they saw the day the earth stood still. So
right.
They try to do a little bit of fun dialogue with Connie and her mom when they see the alien, and her mom says it reminds her of somebody. But it was kind of a very weak Coneheads to come back after so long.
Yeah, it was strange. It was just a weird fit at a weird time in the show.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what, as you mentioned, because of the cones, maybe they just couldn't, I cannot looking through it. Maybe they couldn't do it anywhere else between all the other sketches of where people fit in. Because, you know, Dan's in a lot. He's between Leonard Pinth and he's in that cold open as Bosley.
Yeah.
So, it's like he couldn't do it early in the show, maybe not. And Lorraine's in a bunch. I don't know. I'm just trying. Maybe that's why it goes late. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like Lorraine and Jane are in more than Dan is in the beginning of the show, which doesn't help things anymore. So
yeah, that's why it's like maybe they just do the. I don't know. We should say this is the last we see of the Coneheads. This is our last appearance.
Not a great way to go out.
I'm not counting the new Coneheads when they try to bring them back in the mid 80s with Hartman as Beldar. But R.I.P. Coneheads. You had a great life.
See you in 1993. Is that when the Coneheads movie comes out?
Maybe. Yeah. 93, 94.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's our show. It felt fast. I think it moves. It is fun, like you said, but I didn't feel like it was a standout show by any stretch.
No, I agree. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. Like I said, I don't know how quote unquote funny it was, but it was a lot of fun. Like I enjoyed watching it, especially after the last couple weeks. It was a fun, easygoing, utilized the host well, even though she played herself most of the time. I enjoyed Kate Jackson a bunch. I honestly could have used a better musical guest, really.
I feel like Kate Jackson got shafted by the whole runner because she had to play herself. Like, I wish they gave her more to do because I felt like when they did, I thought she delivered. And it's a shame that she didn't have more to do that was fun.
You're right. Coneheads aside, because that was just kind of a throwaway. It's all about the Coneheads and John, and she just happens to be John's date. But she's really good as the nurse, even with her weird accent. And she's really great in Child Psychologist. So, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe you're right. She just got tied into being, which I don't know. Maybe if John was feeling a bit better, maybe that stuff would have played better. Who knows?
We'll never know. Well, Brad, what were your best bits?
I only had one, although after we talk about it, maybe there could be two, but Child Psychiatrist is what I pick. I think performances are all great. I think it's written really well. I really like that one.
Yeah. I had Mr. Bill. I really liked this Mr. Bill.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought about Bad Cabaret for Children. That was my second, but I didn't.
Oh, that was what you were thinking? I was thinking Nerds because it just was so different and you didn't see that dynamic with Mom and both Mom and Lisa and then Lisa and Todd. There's just something about it. Again, it wasn't a funny sketch, but I just really enjoyed watching it as a scene.
Right.
With those characters that we've grew to know so well and see a different side this far into the arc of them that I like. So I don't know.
I can see Child Psychiatrist. Like you said, Kate and Bill are great as the parents. I really like Lorraine. And I think both Bad Cabaret and Nerds were good, solid sketches. I didn't think they were standouts. But for me, Mr. Bill was a standout Mr. Bill for me.
I buy that.
Well, that's it. Thanks, Kate Jackson.
Nice work, Kate.
Yeah. She did well for what she was given.
Go quit Charlie's Angels now.
She will. Well, Brad, next week on the early years of SNL, we'll be talking about season 4, episode 14 with host Gary Busey.
Look out.
And musical guests Eubie Blake and Gregory Hines and Gary Busey.
Yeah, it's a very interesting episode. There's a lot
Can't
going
wait.
on.
That'll be fun. Until then, good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
And have a pleasant tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Not Ready for Primetime Project. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, please take a moment to rate and review the project wherever you find us. You can also drop us a line to let us know what you liked or didn't and what else you might like to hear in the future at nr4ptproject@gmail.com. And lastly, you can find us on social media everywhere at nr4ptproject. Thanks again for listening. Have a pleasant tomorrow.
Hope you looked her up.
I didn't, but she's...
It's going to be great.